Do you think that Joe Biden really would have been able to perform as president all the way through January 2029 when he would be 86?
Yes, I thought that back then. I still think that, but I don't know that.
Former President Biden, we've learned, has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, according to a statement released by his personal office just in the last 5-10 minutes here.
So as we said, a lot of Biden news. Let's talk about Clyburn first. Hours after, Representative James Clyburn telling Jake Tapper he still believed Joe Biden was fit to be president. It was revealed that the former president was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Biden's office releasing this statement yesterday. Here's what it says. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. That statement from the personal office of the former president. If you're unfamiliar with the term metastasis, okay, I'm not good at saying it, but so I'm clearly unfamiliar. It's when cancer though spreads to other tissues in the body, and the Gleason score he was given means it is likely to grow and spread. It goes on, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Jen, you'll correct me the way I pronounce it. There's certain words I don't know. Maybe I've given up too easily. But here's the thing, your initial thoughts looking for that before we move forward with some reactions, because a lot of people weighing in, a lot of people not believing the timing.
Yeah, so I don't believe the timing either. And I'm no one to criticize people's pronunciation of words. Let's just be clear about that. And another fun side note, Clyburn's like, he's totally fine. Of course he could last another 4 years. Biden's 82, Clyburn's 84. That might be a part of the reason why he's saying that he thinks he's totally fine. He's like, I don't think he slowed down, at least according to me. Yeah, brother, because you both slowed down. Anyways, back to this. This is important. There's a lot of conspiracy theories floating around about this, but then you say conspiracy theories, but really, I mean, with Biden, mental decline, physical decline being covered up, is it conspiratorial or is it just a theory, right? And so we'll look through some of those. Some of those are clearly not nonsense. But then I'm going to tell you what might have actually happened, because it's related to that hormone, the fact that it is hormone sensitive. What is the treatment for prostate cancer? Well, that might be your answer, but we'll get to that in a minute. Sharon, back to you.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Can't wait to hear more. We'll get to the reactions in just a second, but let's dive a little more into the prognosis. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, who was an oncologist selected by Biden for his COVID advisory board, went on Morning Joe today to give more insight into what the diagnosis actually means for the former president. Listen.
The fact is that very few people get diagnosed this advanced. About 7% of all prostate cancer in the country gets diagnosed when you have a lesion that's in the bone, and therefore it's metastatic and incurable. The prostate cancer will not go away. He will have it. That doesn't mean he's going to die from it, because there are a lot of treatments. So there's a lot there, and then there's chemotherapy beyond that. There's also treatment for that metastatic lesion near the spine if it's a threat. So he has a lot of treatments, and he could live a long time.
But there's something else that Dr. Emanuel revealed, and that is that surely Joe Biden had this for a long time.
Well, doesn't it take some time for prostate cancer to develop to a point where it would spread to the bones?
Oh, he's had this for many years, maybe even a decade, growing there and spreading. That's right. It's a little surprising. I look back at the records, and there's no evidence that when he got his health status and the medical records were released that he had a prostate-specific antigen. Now, it is true that a lot of people recommend not doing a prostate-specific antigen after 70, but President Biden's been in public life a very long time. He was vice president and had a lot of exams under 70. So it's a little surprising that they didn't do it, and maybe President Biden decided he didn't want the test. Many men do decide they don't want a PSA.
That's one theory. In 2021, we can tell you Biden underwent a colonoscopy at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, during which a single 3-millimeter benign appearing polyp was identified and removed. White House physician at the time, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, revealed. CNBC filling in some of the details. O'Connor said in a letter that the polyp was a slow growing, but thought to be precancerous lesion for which no more action was required. Biden had a similar polyp removed in 2008, he said. However, during his last annual exam as president, Dr. O'Connor labeled Biden as a, quote, healthy, active, robust 81-year-old. Biden did, in fact, have cancer at that time. And it's unclear why Biden didn't do testing for it.
What President Biden and his doctor discussed, but I think you are hinting at the other element, which is that President Obama had this test, President Bush had this test. It is a little surprising that the doctor didn't take it, and if he took it and didn't report it and it was elevated, that is another case of doctors not being straightforward with us. We've had several of them with President Trump, especially around his COVID diagnosis. And if that is true, that would be very troubling.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and that leads to the reactions that we've been talking about. Many people on both sides of the political aisle have expressed their support for Biden during this time, including the current president, Donald Trump, who posted on Truth Social yesterday. Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. However, a lot of people, especially those in the MAGA sphere, think there's something fishy going on. Laura Loomer is back. She posted this to X following the news. I reported on Biden's terminal illness almost a year ago. Terminal is 6 months to a year left to live. There are always outliers, but I suspect Biden's treatment isn't responding anymore, which is why the family is only now admitting he is terminally ill. He could die in the next 2 months. This is a PR strategy to shame the Democrats who are coming out with a book about the cover-up of Biden's health crisis. Biden might die in the next 2 months. If you follow my reporting, you knew this 1 year ago. Laura Loomer. Other people posted similar theories. You see them there. They leaked the Biden tape, and the investigator released the prostate cancer news, it says. So people getting clever. And then there's more. Releasing Joe Biden's diagnosis on a Sunday evening is strategic, it says. They want all the Monday morning shows talking about it because Jake Tapper has a book to sell. Tapper and Alex Thompson's book about Biden's decline is set to be released tomorrow. That's May 20th. Snippets have already hit on not only the mental decline of the former president, but also his physical deterioration. Biden's physical deterioration, most apparent in his halting walk, had become so severe that there were internal discussions about putting the president in a wheelchair, but they couldn't do so until after the election. One excerpt. Now, people such as David Axelrod are calling for the end of the Biden cover-up debate. So let's listen to Mr. Axelrod.
As you mentioned, this comes at a time where there was so much and continued attention, placed on his mental acuity and stability, as well as ahead of this book release. And you mentioned there's been a lot of discussion about it. His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his last year and a half of his presidency for now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
So you heard Axelrod there, Cenk. I have to be honest, some of the conspiracy theories don't seem so far-fetched to me, and maybe it's not kind, but my mind went a few places when I first heard the news. Certainly sympathy for the former First Family, the former president. But I just don't know what to believe at this point. The timing, the diagnosis, everything else that's swirling around. So give us more on what you're zeroing in on.
Yeah, so first of all, the thing that I don't like is people celebrating it. I can't stand that. Like, what are you doing? Why? He's already gone. We could have a conversation about what did they do wrong so we learn from it and we don't make those same mistakes. But you don't have to root against the guy's health or life. I've seen a lot on the right do it. I've seen some on the left do it, and it's really ugly either way. Okay, now as to how, like, the relevant parts here. So first of all, on people's reactions as to whether they believe the Bidens, I think our members speak for a lot of people. So Bloated Ego on TYT.com wrote in, if they covered up his mental decline, why wouldn't they have covered up this? And that's a fair question. That's a really fair question. Another member on TYT.com said, Don Dada Dragon said, if the White House didn't dig their own lying grave, I would have backed them a lot more. But now all I can say is good luck, young man. So look, and you should say good luck about treating cancer and mean it. But in terms of the credibility of the Biden team, it's a zero, right? I mean, that's super fair. So, and whether you're left or right, it's crazy if you just believe them. They have a terrible track record. So I agree with our members. You can join them at tyt.com/join. So now, I talked to an expert about this. So would you normally do what they call a PSA to find this out? And the answer is yes, definitively, yes, you would normally do a PSA. And is it an extra procedure that could be a little invasive like a colonoscopy, so you might choose out of it? No, it's part of your normal blood panel. There's no reason to choose out of it at all. I mean, I guess some could, he could have, but if you chose to not investigate it, that might be a sign that you thought you had it and didn't want others to know it. So that part is already super weird, not normal, okay? Now they say, but the parts that bother me about the conspiracy theories is like, you gotta get your theories right? And straight. So like, oh, Jake Tapper has a book coming out, so that's why they would wanna release this. No. The timing's the other way around. Over the weekend, everybody's beating up on Biden. He went on The View and he was defending himself and talking about how he would have won. And then that led to a round of a lot of people, including a lot of Democrats, saying, please go away. And then because of the book coming out, there's a lot more swirling around about how Biden screwed everybody over. And her tapes just came out on Friday, so it became clear that he was in mental decline. If you want to have people stop talking about that and how Biden was an egomaniac who cost his own party, democracy, the country, et cetera, you would drop a news story about how he has cancer, and so that everybody does what Axelrod did. Okay, that's it. It's now you're not allowed to talk about it anymore because he's got cancer, right? So when did they know that he had this type of cancer? Of course, I don't know. And that's a great question. Is it a legitimate question? Of course it's a legitimate question because of what I'm about to tell you, among other reasons. So what is the treatment for prostate cancer? Well, I looked it up, it's androgen deprivation therapy. And so again, the expert that I talked to told me about this, and he's right. That's what you do. You can go on any site and confirm that. Okay, well, that therapy, it has some side effects. What are some of those side effects? Now, it has some things to do with your sex life. That's not relevant here because it affects testosterone, right? So, and that's the hormones that we were talking about earlier. And that's why they think they might be able to treat this and he might be able to survive because you could do hormone treatment. Okay, well, what would the hormone treatment do? Well, it would have side effects like bone thinning, which can lead to broken bones, anemia, low red blood cell counts, decrease mental sharpness, interesting, loss of muscle mass, weight gain, fatigue, increased cholesterol levels, and depression or mood swings. So fatigue, your bones are more brittle, and that might lead you to being a little bit more careful as you walk, might lead to more mishaps. Depression, where you snap at people and give them, some answers that are rude, or however you phrase it. Did Biden do that? Yes. Was he constantly fatigued? Remember the famous memo about the president can only work between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So we have to, make sure that we get him his information then, but otherwise, we got to make sure that he rests. Why did they put that memo out? Is it because of the fatigue? So that's not conspiratorial. It's just a very simple and direct medical question. So the Biden team should be asked, was he on androgen deprivation therapy? Because if he was, that might even explain all the things that we saw. It might even explain what appeared to be mental decline, but might have been brain fog, mental fatigue, etc., that they say are side effects of this drug. Now, I put that online, and then I got attacked by the right and the left, and I can't quite figure out why they're attacking me. First of all, you don't need a reason. It's us, right? So it's gonna happen anyway. But my point here isn't about me. It's about the right wing thinks, no, you're covering up his actual cognitive decline. Brother, I'm not covering anything up. I'm the guy who said right from the get-go, there's something wrong with him, and he can't be the candidate. For whatever reason, he can't finish sentences. He's not fully there. There's no question about it, right? So what we're trying to do is figure out what happened. And when you're the president of the United States, it's super fair for people to ask, what happened, right? And on the left, they're like, oh, you're trying to make it seem like he wasn't mentally sharp because of this drug. I'm not trying to make it seem like anything. I'm asking, was he on that drug or was he not asking on that drug? And by the way, if you're on the left and you're a Joe Biden supporter, you'd be lucky if it was this drug. Because then you could say, hey, look, he wasn't in cognitive decline, he had cancer, he shouldn't have covered it up, but he took this medicine, blah, blah, blah. Is that a good excuse? Not really, right? Because if you're on this medicine and it produces these results, I'm not even sure you should be president, but I'm positive you shouldn't run for re-election, especially when you've got it at stage 5, 4, 5, this advanced, Gleason score of 9, and you're running for president? No, that's why they release it afterwards. Oh, golly gee, we just found out. And maybe they did. That's not impossible. But given the weight of the evidence of all of their previous lies and what we saw with our own eyes, I would be surprised, Sharon, if they weren't covering this up. If they were just being honest about it and they just got the diagnosis, I'd be genuinely surprised.
Yeah, what you've uncovered in talking to the doctor today too, it makes perfect sense. I tend to lean in that direction, having heard the theory, the balance of it, it makes perfect sense. I guess I'm wondering this. Look, I've been super irked by all of the news about the secrets, the lies. Maybe I'm just naive in this day and age about what a modern day White House kept from us with the media's assistance. But I guess the larger issue I've heard people raise, Cenk, is why does it matter? Why does it matter now? Why does it matter?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Sharon. So going forward, when it comes to how we view Joe Biden, maybe it matters for history's sake, but I don't really care about that at this point. We got way too many issues to worry about how history sees Joe Biden. Do I care about Joe, Jill, and Hunter Biden now? No, I don't care about them at all. So they're not going to be relevant politically. They're not going to run for any office. It's like, am I sitting there obsessing about what Chelsea Clinton's up to? No, I don't care at all, right? So then what is the part that is relevant? For me, the only part that's relevant is Democratic leadership always tells you, don't believe your lying eyes. It looks like our candidate is weaker than the other Democrats in a primary. But we know some secret information that the establishment candidate like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden are actually stronger. Don't believe the polls. Don't believe anything. You've got somebody that looks like they're very pro-establishment and takes tons of money from the banks like Hillary Clinton did. But no, taking millions of dollars from the banks. Don't believe your lying eyes. That doesn't corrupt her at all. And yeah, she changed her position on the bankruptcy bill to help the bankers. But don't believe your lying eyes. No, that was just a coincidence. And Joe Biden looks like he's in mental decline and can't finish sentences, but don't believe your lying eyes. He's actually the best candidate for the Democratic Party, right? So it isn't about Biden. The next time Democratic leadership or Democratic establishment or mainstream media anchors lie to you, remember these lies so you don't get tricked by the next set of lies. And I will tell you this as well, in the 2028 primary, I guarantee you they go back to lying. Absolutely, positively guarantee it. I've never seen the Democratic establishment do anything but lying. I've never seen those same Democratic establishment supporting, by the way, also Republican establishment supporting cable news anchors ever tell the truth. Or ever back an outsider, ever back a populist. They always go back to, yes, the corporate Democrat is the greatest Democrat of all time. And if your eyes look like they're telling you that they have terrible poll numbers, or they look corrupt, or they look like they're in mental decline, do not believe your eyes, do not believe your ears. Believe us instead. Pick the worst possible candidate and don't worry about it, because at least he's in favor of corporations and corporate rule. But do not pick the populists with the really popular bills, because our corporate sponsors don't, I mean, they'll lose. So it's the lies that have to be defeated, not Joe Biden. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.